Previously on The Mandalorian.
Oh my, someone's at the door and I'm leaving it in the video for some reason. It must be important.
Evil Santa? What's going on here?
When you and I first met, I was just a cynical old fart who couldn't cope with the idea of other people having different opinions from me. As you can imagine, becoming a politician was right up my alley. And wouldn't you know, 4 years ago, I was elected President of the United States. Being the leader of the free world was an unforgettable experience. I made some great friends, solved a bunch of national problems, and everybody loved me. So of course, when I was up for re-election, I thought my chances of winning were going to be even better this time around. But then, somehow, I lost.
Wow. That backstory was so long that I apparently had time to change clothes and even shave. Well, I'm sorry things didn't work out for you, Evil Santa, but you know you're not supposed to come around here anymore. Besides, shouldn't you be back at the White House?
Didn't you hear me? I said I lost.
Yeah, but your term isn't over until January 20th. You're still gonna be president for like another month or so.
Who cares? The election was rigged. If you don't count all those dead people and mail-in ballots coming in from Spain, I won by a landslide.
This is why I didn't want you coming around here anymore. Well, did you at least give a concession speech?
A what?
Never mind, just take your crazy conspiracy theories somewhere else.
Wait!
Ah!
I may have existed as a tool for you to sneak left-leaning political jokes into your videos, and references to politics make people uncomfortable. So perhaps we can make a deal. I got you this Nintendo Switch with some very special games downloaded to it as a Christmas present. If you play these games, you'll never have to see me again. Ever.
Like, ever?
Yep, I will be completely out of your life.
Alright, fine. Please tell me you're gonna take your family with you.
Daddy!
I wouldn't go in there for a couple of weeks. Or years.
I'm sorry about that, guys. This family is just really difficult to put up with. But hey, it's the holiday season, a time of peace, love, goodwill, and gingerbread-flavored Oreos. I'm not gonna let some pesky politics get in the way of my Christmas. So, once again, I'm going to rely on a fictional video game character to distract myself from the toxicity of the real world. Because that's what the holidays are all about. Now, I have a tradition on my channel where I would dedicate my Christmas specials to reviewing the most recent Mario-related games. But lately it's been kind of hard to keep that tradition going since I started covering recent Mario games during my Summer of Mario series. I didn't mean for this to happen, I just couldn't help myself. And after putting up my review of Paper Mario the Origami King back in August, 2 questions came to mind. First, why did I do this to myself? Second, What do I do for Christmas? Well, thankfully, Nintendo decided to put some stuff out there to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Bros., including Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, which... yeah, no. And the 2 games we have here today, thanks to a certain unwanted house guest. Well, it was pretty nice of him to get these for me, so I guess I'll give him credit for that. But now I'm just anxious to get to these games because it means I can get him and his family out of here faster if I do. So, come on everybody, let's see what... I am Confucian. Is it bad that I keep forgetting Tetris 99 is still a thing? In case you forgot about it too, it's basically a battle royale version of Tetris for up to 99 players to partake in online matches. Coincidentally, they were also doing a Mario-themed event when I had to record footage of it. My brother tried it too, but don't mind him. He's kinda not very good at— wait, what the hell? Well, because every game needs either a crafting system or a battle royale mode nowadays, Nintendo followed suit with Super Mario Bros. 35. Battle royale type games involve players competing against each other to be the last one standing, something like Fortnite or Apex Legends or whatever's hip with the young people. In this game, up to 35 players go through stages from the original Super Mario Bros. And do everything in their power to disrupt each other's progress. There's an option to vote for which stage players start from, but I don't see the point of this because every match always seems to start on World 1-1 anyway. Coins can be used to purchase items from a roulette box, and you're rewarded with coins every time you find them on a stage like normal or grab a 1-up mushroom, or whenever a player gets knocked out. But if you're responsible for that KO, you get even more coins for it. Imagine if you're part of a gang, and everybody got paid for getting someone killed, while you were given more money for being the one to do the job. Why have I been making so many jokes about death lately? Well, speaking of a murder, killing enemies... Killing enemies will add some extra time to your counter, and you can even send those enemies over to another player's board. The targets are random, but you can use the right stick to have enemies sent to specific types of players, like the ones with the most coins or the ones attacking you. And that's all she wrote. There isn't very much else to this game. It does have new events taking place every now and again, so there's a pretty decent incentive for players to keep coming back to it. At least for the next 3 months. That's right, Super Mario Bros. 35 isn't gonna be playable for that much longer, because once March comes around, the servers go offline. This doesn't make any sense to me. Tetris 99 came out like a year or 2 ago, and it's still going strong, so why are Nintendo cutting this game's lifespan so short? Do they just not want to keep it going past the anniversary celebration, or did they assume it wasn't gonna be all that popular? I don't think it's the latter, but then again, I'm not sure if Super Mario Bros. 35 is gonna be missed all that much once it shuts down. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but it's also repetitive. You mostly go through the same stages, only occasionally getting some you haven't unlocked yet, and do the same thing over and over again. It can be very enjoyable, and I even managed to win a couple times, but looking back, I find that playing Super Mario Bros. 35 is like talking about how much I hate the Paul brothers. It's a lot of fun, and extremely therapeutic, but it's better in short bursts because I can only go for so long in one sitting before eventually getting worn out. Believe me, I would love to go on about how Jake and Logan Paul are the result of some failed experiment where scientists tried to mutate dog turds into YouTubers. Or how their movie Airplane Mode is the cinematic equivalent of having children scream outdated internet references in your face for an hour and a half. Or how their very existence is proof that we failed as a species, but we need to move on. Because it looks like our next game is one that I have been greatly anticipating. You guys remember Super Mario All-Stars, right? That Super Nintendo game that took all the core Mario titles from his NES days, updated the presentation, added some new stuff, and made them all available to play on the same package? Wasn't that cool? It sure was. Once they added the best one. But while a remastered collection of some of Mario's 2D games is pretty sweet, for years people couldn't help but wonder, when are we going to get the same thing with Mario's 3D games? It just seemed too obvious, but In recent years, Nintendo hasn't been very kind to Mario when it came to remakes, re-releases, and remasters, especially with the 3D titles. Zelda's had plenty with Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and Goth Okami coming to the 3DS and Wii U. The only 3D remake Mario's ever gotten was Super Mario 64 DS, 16 years ago. Even when that rumor of there being an HD Mario collection first came out, I just couldn't believe it to be real. But since Origami King proved that Paper Mario rumor to be true, that must have meant... Yep, there it is, Super Mario 3D All-Stars. So does that mean we finally have a definitive HD compilation of every single 3D Mario game with updated graphics and higher frame rates? Not quite. Mario's had 7 3D platforming adventures over the years, but 3D All-Stars only contains 3 of them: Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. And while that game was recompiled to run through the Switch hardware, 64 and Sunshine are pretty much emulated ROMs with only a few minor differences. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is an anniversary collection, so what else does it have to offer? Well, you can listen to each game's soundtrack, which is a pretty cool feature on paper, but in terms of execution, it's pretty bare bones. You don't have shuffle or loop options, and you can't make your own playlists like you could with Smash Ultimate's music player. You just pick a song and then it plays. You can't even pause it. You press A to make it stop, and then pressing A again starts the song all over. This honestly feels pretty tacked on, but the games are what we're really here for. Now, I've already reviewed each of these games back in my channel's early days, when I didn't know any better, so for this video, I'm mostly going to be looking at how they perform, how they've held up over time, and how these nearly identical ports differ from their original releases, if at all. Let's start with Mario 64, a bona fide classic as far as I'm concerned. You might have noticed that the aspect ratio is still in its original 4:3 size and not 16:9. It doesn't really bother me a whole lot, but if they were going to keep it this way, I think having interchangeable backgrounds would have been nice, to spice things up a bit. I could use my own backdrop, but I'm going to continue presenting the game as it is in the collection, because I'm lazy. At first glance, it's practically the same game, only here, the low-poly aesthetic is rendered at 720p, and the textures are way smoother. I can imagine this is how people who grew up with Mario 64 remember it looking when they first played it back in 1996. But I should mention that this version isn't exactly the same one that we're all familiar with. Instead, 3D All-Stars features the Shindo Pack Taio version that was previously only available in Japan. This is why the year 1997 appears on the title screen, and why Mario doesn't say "So longy Bowser" anymore, because Bowser isn't called that over there.
And yes, it does sound like he's saying "So long, gay Bowser." Ha ha ha, isn't that funny?
The Shindo Pack Taio version added Rumble Pack support as well, and since most modern controllers come with Rumble functionality built right in, that would explain why Nintendo chose to port over this version and not the first release. They also patched out some bugs and glitches that let players skip over large chunks of the game, and if you're a member of the speedrunning community, I'm going to assume this didn't necessarily sit well with you. Again, that doesn't bother me personally, I'm just thankful to have this game playable on the Switch at all. Super Mario 64 has definitely shown its age. The controls are a bit loose, the camera's pretty restrictive in places, and Bowser looks like a deformed pug that got stung by a wasp. However, that really doesn't hinder my experience at all, because the game is still a great time. The worlds are all varied and have their own unique set pieces. It's super open-ended, so you can complete missions in whatever order you want. And since we're playing the Shindo Pack Taio version, you can also do this when messing with Mario's face on the title screen. It's really creepy. But out of all the games in this collection, the one that I was actually looking forward to replaying the most, if you can believe it, was Super Mario Sunshine. Those of you that have been watching me for the longest time might be all too familiar with the feelings that I've shared about this game in the past. Suffice to say, our relationship is very complicated, but I don't really hate the game as much as I like to pretend I do. Kind of. Like I said, it's complicated. Whether you're a fan of this game or not, there's no denying that Sunshine has some noticeable flaws, and remasters normally give developers the chance to address some drawbacks with the original and improve on them, but since we're dealing with another emulated port, that means a lot of the same issues I had with the game before are still here. I almost forgot how many baffling decisions were made with these missions, like the blooper surfing in Rico Harbor. You bump into a wall, what happens? You just fall off your blooper and have to get back on, adding a perfectly fair and reasonable crunch to a time-based objective? Nope, you just lose a life. God damn, whoever thought that was a good idea, I hope they got fired. Or at least a light but disciplinary cheek slap. And then a chuck out the window. But for as much as I hated replaying the bad parts of Sunshine, I found myself appreciating the good parts of it much more. I still really get a kick out of these secret courses where FLUDD gets taken away from you, forcing you to rely on your platforming and jumping skills to grab the Shine Sprite. Every single mistake I made was completely my fault, and not because of cumbersome level design or bad enemy placement. And playing with the Switch Pro controller feels pretty good too. It doesn't have analog triggers or shoulder buttons like the GameCube controller, so you hold one button to spray water while running, and another to spray while standing still, which is a very clever compromise. I heard that people who wanted to play Sunshine with a GameCube controller using the GameCube adapter found it kinda difficult because of the different button layouts. But now, thanks to a recent update, playing with the GameCube controller will make the game feel more like the original, with analog triggers and the buttons remapping to the GameCube setup. Both this and the Switch Pro controller work perfectly fine, and with the 1080p widescreen resolution, I would consider this to be the definitive way to play Super Mario Sunshine in its original form. If you want to play this game with the same higher resolution but with actual gameplay improvements so that it's more open-ended and less annoying, Super Mario Sunburn is your best bet.
Is it just me though, or do the titles seem like they should be switched around? The ROM hack with the harsher sounding word in its name is much more pleasant, while the game with the nicer sounding word in its name feels more like it's giving you actual sunburn. In most areas. This game is weird, man. It's constantly at odds with itself. It's Gollum and Smeagol in the form of a video game.
Well, let's move on to a game that I'm sure most of us can agree is 100% wonderful, Super Mario Galaxy. Sucks that the second game isn't on here since I preferred that over the first one, but both of them are still fantastic, so I'll take what I can get. As I mentioned before, Galaxy 1 is the only game on the collection that isn't technically running through emulation, as the game's files were ported directly to the Switch itself. So it still runs at a mostly consistent 60 frames per second, and graphically looks the sharpest and best of the whole bunch. But it doesn't just benefit from the jump in resolution, it also benefits from the updated controls. The Joy-Cons are a perfect replacement for the Wii Remote and Nunchuck. Their motion sensitivity is much more accurate, and you can use the R button to recenter the cursor, letting you play more comfortably from whatever position you're in. No more having to sit in front of the TV or point the controller at the sensor bar from a particular distance. As for the spin move, you can still perform it by shaking the Joy-Cons like you would a Wii Remote, but it's also been mapped to the X and Y buttons, so no more wiggling and waggling if your wrists can't take it. That being said, I highly recommend you play this game with the Joy-Cons separately. Galaxy clearly wasn't meant to be played with something like the Pro Controller. Sure, it feels great, but trying to collect star bits with this thing is incredibly awkward, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. You could also play in handheld mode and use the touchscreen to control the cursor, which feels slightly better, but kinda breaks the flow of the game. One of the reasons why the Wii Remote and Nunchuck combination works so well with this game is because you can point the cursor with one hand and move Mario around with the other. They function separately while working together seamlessly. I don't get that same feeling with the touchscreen. It's less like I'm doing two things at the same time, and more like I have to alternate between them. But is that enough to tarnish my thoughts on this game? No? That's my final answer? Correct!
Super Mario Galaxy is one of my favorite Mario games of all time, and nothing will ever change that. The worlds have such a wide amount of variety to their looks. The soundtrack is on a whole other level of quality. Seriously, it's impossible to describe just how amazing the music is. It captures the magic and wonder of the cosmos in such a simple yet beautiful way, and it does a great job at establishing Rosalina's place in the Mario universe. Even if later games sort of ruin her as a character for me. And despite how weird those other control options felt, the Joy-Con setup was still viable, and if anything, it just made playing this game even better. And that's with the weaker motion-related gimmicks in mind. I had no problem with the ball rolling, or the manta surfing, or the bubble blowing. In fact, there were missions I remember having screaming Hulk-like fits over because I just couldn't beat them as a kid. And now, I was able to get them on my first try. I don't know if it had to do with the new controls making things easier, or maybe I just got better at the game over time, but Galaxy 1? Yeah, it's still good.
Bless this highly polished piece of electronic gaming entertainment and the people who sold it at a reasonable price of $49.99. Amen. So there you go. That's Super Mario 3D All-Stars and the games that come with it. 64 and Galaxy proved to be just as good as I remember them, and even Sunshine's better aspects stuck out to me more. Overall, it looks like we've got a pretty solid collection on our hands. So why does it leave me feeling so empty?
I mean, it's not like Nintendo doesn't know how to pull off these kinds of anniversary bundles. Look at Kirby's Dream Collection. That came out 8 years ago, and sure, it also mostly has emulated ROMs like 3D All-Stars does, but not only did it have more games, it had a history section, added challenge stages in the style of Return to Dreamland, it even had episodes of Kirby Right Back at Ya. 3D All-Stars didn't have to go that overboard with the bonus content, I don't want to ask for too much, but this is Mario we're talking about, the face of Nintendo. Why isn't he getting this kind of treatment? Even the original Mario All-Stars had more games on it. I mean, I get why Super Mario 3D World wasn't included on here because it's already getting its own separate port, but if you're gonna bring over Galaxy 1, why not do the same with Galaxy 2? Apparently 3D All-Stars was made over the course of 6 to 8 months, and I'm no programmer, but surely they could have had enough time to add screen filters, scaling options, concept art, save states, or just something to make this feel like an actual celebration. And justify that $60 price tag for a limited release. If you want to pick this up, you have until March to do so. After that, this game is getting pulled from physical and digital stores. Okay, it's an anniversary thing, I get that. But there has to be more than this. I'm glad that something like 3D All-Stars even exists, and I guess it's worth it for the convenience of being able to play these games on the Switch. But anybody with a good PC can get them running on emulators and often achieve better results than what Nintendo expects people to shell out $60 for. While the games themselves are great, except Sunshine to an extent, Super Mario 3D All-Stars lacks in terms of content and any real value to warrant such a high price. And as a celebration of the long, treasured history of Mario, frankly, it falls flat.
What a shame. I was hoping you would like your present.
For crying out loud, will you just leave me alone? I played the games like you wanted me to, so get lost.
Hey, come on! What did I ever do to you?
Huh, maybe you forgot how we met, when you burned down my house and threatened to kill me if I didn't play freaking Captain Toad.
I've changed since then.
The word evil is in your name.
Names are just labels. And sure, nothing can change what I did, but we've all done stupid things in our lives, so the least you can do is forget about the kind of person I used to be and recognize me as the person I am now. I just wish I could do nice things for other people without feeling like I'm getting punished for it. Do you have any idea what that's like?
Yeah. Like, even if your intentions are good, people are just gonna keep bringing up the bad stuff as if you're still doing it.
Exactly. how can I try to be better if I'm only going to be remembered for the mistakes I've made?
Everybody makes mistakes. I've certainly done things I'm not proud of. But they don't always have to define who we are. It's important for us to understand when we've done something wrong, because knowing where we failed in the past can help us find success in the future. It certainly worked for Mario. I mean, his career was pretty much made by failure if you really think about it. Mario only exists because Shigeru Miyamoto failed at getting the rights to use Popeye characters when he was making the original Donkey Kong. Maybe that's a different kind of failure, but a failure all the same. And there was a time when Nintendo thought Mario was immune to any kind of bad publicity, so that led to a lot of careless business decisions, and Mario's name became attached to some pretty bad stuff. But that experience helped them realize the importance of preserving the integrity of their characters, and not only was Nintendo made better for it, but so were their properties, including Mario. Even when they screw up or do something questionable sometimes, now they're in a place where people are more likely to forgive them because they've become greatly associated with quality and decency. They had to fall to their lowest of lows for them to climb back up. And making that climb required tons of hard work. That's all it takes for any of us to be better. Accepting the fact that we did something wrong, leaving that version of ourselves behind, and making an effort to learn and grow so that we can eventually become the kind of people we really want to be.
Wow. If I could express more than one emotion, I'd be tearing up from how beautiful that was.
You know, it's kind of appropriate for us to be back here. The same room where it all began. Almost 5 years to the day.
Yeah. So, you really think I'll be able to move past all the mistakes I've made?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, you've repeatedly dodged your taxes, tried to buy Greenland, had people sprayed with tear gas so you could have pictures of you taken in front of a church, gave the Medal of Freedom to someone who once suggested that Michael J. Fox's case of Parkinson's disease wasn't convincing enough.
5 minutes later.
Blamed the state of California for indirectly causing their own forest fires, tried to convince people that the state of Alabama was in the path of a hurricane, threatened to drop nuclear bombs on historical heritage sites, called immigrants animals, encouraged the leader of China to continue building concentration camps.
2 hours later.
Insulted third world countries, picked fights with the leader of North Korea on Twitter, mocked a disabled reporter, suggested killing the families of terrorists, made someone who doesn't believe in climate change the head of the EPA, claimed that the FBI could have stopped a mass shooting if they spent less time investigating your ties to Russia, and failed to condemn white supremacists. And you'll be fine.
Well then, let's not drag this ending out any longer. Come on, fam. Let's go back to our home planet.
Yay, we're aliens now, I guess.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
Merry Christmas, Evil Santa.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
A new year is upon us, and for me, this is a time of change. I want 2021 to be a year of improvement and personal growth, so that I can eventually become the best version of myself that I possibly can be. And though we may not know what the future holds, I hope it brings you nothing but good fortune. Because after the dumpster fire that was 2020, I think we all need a little positivity in our lives again. And thankfully, I'll never have to make any political jokes in my videos again, so yeah, we're already off to a good start.
Aldo! Happy holidays, everybody! Before I go, I would once again like to give a very special thank you to my superstar supporters, Henry Newman, Rachel Rodriguez, and Jake Winans. If you'd like to support me as well, then please consider pledging to my Patreon page, or become a sponsor by clicking the join button. Membership options give you the same benefits as my Patreon, including being able to watch videos before they come out, getting access to some exclusive content like bloopers or behind the scenes videos, and getting shoutouts at the end of my videos. But during live streams, being a member also means that you get one of these special badges to appear next to your name, and you can post any of these special emojis in the chat. Both my Patreon and YouTube membership are totally optional. You don't have to do these things if you don't want to, but it would really mean a lot to me if you gave these a look. And I guess this is the part where I give you a little update on what's going on. Well, I'm really looking forward to the new year. I've been going to therapy. I've been feeling a lot better about myself. I've made a lot of self-improvement, I feel, and hopefully we can make it through 2021 mostly alive. I really wasn't expecting this video to get so personal, especially near the end, but you know, that's just how it goes. I don't know if I've put out a separate update video yet by the time I'm recording this. Maybe I have. I don't know. I haven't made it yet. I'm assuming I'm going to have more to talk about there, but I really cannot thank you guys enough for sticking with me. I know on the internet it's kind of hard to tell when people are being honest and sincere, but I really mean it when I say I have a lot to thank you guys for. When it comes to making videos, I don't think I would even be here without your support. There's noise in the background, but I'm gonna keep going. I wanna try and get a lot of really exciting projects off the ground next year, and hopefully you'll all still be here to see them. So yeah, I guess that'll do. As always, links to my social media and Discord server are in the description, and if you want to stay updated on my future uploads, be sure to click on that little bell icon down there. Thanks again for watching. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Ramadan, whatever holiday you celebrate, I hope you make it a good one. And until next time, this is Mark, bidding you all a smashing farewell. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask if you decide to go out in public, have a happy holidays, and a hopefully happy new year. Take care.